You should have just died, Roman. It would have saved us both the trouble. That's how she greeted me. No, welcome home. No, I'm glad you're okay. Just that. Delivered cold, like leftovers she didn't even bother to reheat. I blinked from the doorway, bag still hanging off my shoulder, discharge papers crumpled under my arm. My body felt like a rented suit, stiff in all the wrong places. Muscles twitching, fingers half dead from nerve damage. Still tasted saline in the back of my throat from the four. Nice to see you too, Darcy, I said, dragging one boot off and kicking it toward the shoe rack, which still held her running shoes, the one she never ran in. Sorry for the inconvenience of surviving. She rolled her eyes, a big, theatrical one, like I was asking her to cancel a brunch. She stood in the kitchen doorway, wine glass in hand, barefoot, smug. Same ripped jeans from college that she still squeezed into just to prove time hadn't touched her, even if kindness had. Oh, come on, she snapped, swirling her wine like it was a plot twist. You had a migraine. You weren't in combat. I had a cerebrovascular event, I replied, walking past her to the living room. That's what the neurologist called it. But sure, let's call it a headache, and I'll just Venmo you the hospital bill. Think you can split it with your yogi boyfriend? That landed. Her nostrils flared, slightly. She sipped the wine and then gave me her signature shrug, the one that said, I have no guilt and a great buttocks, so I win. He's not a yogi. He's a trauma-informed movement therapist. Ah, yes, I said, flopping down on the couch with a groan. God forbid I disrespect a man who wears toe rings unironically. Silence. Long enough to be awkward. Short enough to still be dangerous. She crossed the room and leaned over me, arms folded, expression sharpened to a point. You always do this, Roman. You pretend you're above it all. But you're not funny. You're just bitter. I almost died, I said. I think I earned a little bitterness. You didn't almost die? The doctors said you were stable. After the ICU stay. After the CT scan. After they stopped the bleeding in my brain. I met her gaze. But go off, please. Tell me more about how I was being dramatic while you were taste testing acai bowls in Costa Rica. Her face didn't even twitch. She sat on the arm of the chair like a queen surveying peasantry. You're so needy, she said. Honestly, Roman, it's exhausting. I was one time zone away for 5 days, and now you act like I left you on a battlefield. Sorry, what part of brain clot didn't land? The brain? The clot? She stood up, clearly done with pretending. You always wanted a crisis so people would finally pay attention to you. Congratulations. You got your moment. I let out a laugh, not the amused kind. The hollow, echoing kind. And you got your Instagram content. Win-win, right? She slammed the wine glass down on the coffee table. I'm going upstairs. Perfect. If you could die of indifference, you'd already be a ghost, I muttered. What was that? Nothing. Just talking to myself. I find the conversation less hostile. She stormed off. I listened to the rhythm of her angry steps, up the staircase she once begged me to renovate for her Pinterest dream home. I sat in the silence, hands trembling slightly, pulse thudding like the beeping machines I'd left behind that morning. The dog didn't even bark. He was gone, too. Probably with her. Or maybe I wasn't worth barking for anymore. 3 weeks ago, I was buying batteries at the hardware store when my vision went sideways like a film reel skipping a scene. One moment I was standing in line behind a guy arguing about paint samples, and the next, I was on the floor, drool sliding from my mouth, unable to form a single word. They said my speech slurred, that I collapsed like a string-cut marionette. A minor stroke, they called it. Transient ischemic attack. Harmless, if you're lucky. A warning shot, if you're not. They wheeled me in, hooked up the wires, drew blood like they were trying to empty me. And when they asked for my emergency contact, I whispered, Darcy, my wife. That's what I said. Even then. Before I knew. Before I knew she didn't answer the first call. Or the second. Before I knew she told the nurse, and I quote, if it's serious, the doctors will call back. She didn't call back. You know what the funniest part is? I said aloud to no one as I lay in our shared bed later that night, staring at the ceiling fan, making lazy circles like it was mocking me. I used to think your sarcasm was sexy. Turns out it was just a dress rehearsal for cruelty. She didn't respond. Of course she didn't. She was in the other room, probably journaling about her emotional depletion and toxic energetics, while I debated if I had the strength to make toast. Later that night, she stood in the kitchen again, wine in one hand, her phone in the other. A notification pinged. Her screen lit up. I saw the name, Asher. The therapist. The one with the hand tattoos and a voice like oat milk. Tell Asher I said hi, I muttered as I passed her on the way to the bathroom. She froze, then said, with a sugary tone dipped in arsenic, "You're obsessed." "No," I said. "I'm just lucid now." The second night back home, I realized the most dangerous kind of silence isn't the kind that leaves you alone. It's the kind where you're in the same house as someone who would rather you weren't. Darcy had barely said a word since her wine glass tantrum. I had gone to physical therapy that morning, my first solo outing since the ICU. She didn't ask how it went. She asked if I could pick up oat milk. For the smoothie she didn't actually drink. I picked it up anyway, because sometimes a dead marriage still runs on autopilot. At around 4 p.m., the front door opened. I was upstairs on the landing, just out of view, unpacking a box labeled old cables, because apparently my life had become that metaphorical. I heard the voice before I saw him. "Asher," she giggled. "You're early." "Wanted to surprise you," he said, with the confidence of a man who wears linen in November and believes it's brave. I froze. Not out of fear. Out of pure, clinical interest. I moved silently toward the top of the stairs. Our hallway has this old, hollow echo. Sound carries like rumors in a church. I stepped down one at a time, heel first, breath low, until I reached the edge of the kitchen door frame. I saw her, Darcy, sitting on the counter, one leg tucked up, barefoot, laughing into his neck. Asher stood between her knees, hand on her thigh like it belonged there. His man bun had been redone. The tattoos on his forearms had changed, new additions. I could see Sanskrit, maybe a mandala, maybe instructions for betrayal. They didn't see me, but I saw everything. "I don't know," Asher said, brushing her hair from her shoulder. "Are you sure these ones won't freak out like last time?" Darcy smirked. "They won't. I've been coaching them. They think it's just yoga. Girls that age are suggestible." He raised a brow. "And they know it's not just yoga, right?" She slid off the counter. "They don't need to know everything. Not until we finalize. Once they sign the non-disclosure, it's smooth." My heart stopped. Not skipped. Stopped. They moved toward the kitchen island, where she had a MacBook open. A folder titled Retreat Roster was open on the desktop. Darcy clicked something. I saw names. Just names. No photos. But that was enough. Asher leaned over. "We still need 2 more. Someone flexible. Eastern European if we can." Darcy nodded like she was picking curtains. "I'll message Mila." My knuckles turned white against the stair rail. But I didn't walk in. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. Because this wasn't a moment for rage. This was a moment for documentation. I reached into my hoodie pocket and pressed record on my phone. I caught the next 2 minutes, light laughter, coded language, euphemisms so polished they could be sold at luxury retreats. It wasn't enough to accuse. But it was enough to confirm one thing. My wife wasn't just cheating. She was part of something deeper and dirtier. I sat on the floor of our bedroom, laptop open. I replayed the audio, listened frame by frame, each word like a scalpel to the parts of me that still hoped I was wrong. Serve. Girls. Not just yoga. The file name I gave the recording? Kitchen. Day 2. Darcy Unfiltered. At dinner, Darcy was in a robe, sipping tea like she was a Pinterest ad for peace. "How was PT?" she asked, as not leaving her phone. I smiled. Not because I was happy. Because I had stopped expecting decency. "It was enlightening," I said. "Realized I can stand again. On both legs. Which is more than I can say for most people in this house." She looked up. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Just that some of us hold ourselves up. Others lean." She smirked, unaware. "Or pretending to be. You've always had such a flair for dramatics." "Guess I learned from the best," I said, stabbing my fork into the cold quinoa. That night, I sent the audio to CJ. I didn't explain. Just told him. "You're going to want headphones. And a quiet place." 10 minutes later, he called. Silence for a full 5 seconds. Then, "Roman, what is this?" "I know," I said. "Are they trafficking?" "I don't know. Yet. But I'm going to." He exhaled so loud I could feel it. "What do you want me to do?" "Keep this file safe. And be ready." "Ready for what?" "For when I blow the whole damn operation wide open." At 2 a.m., I passed the kitchen again. The laptop was still open. The screen asleep. But the room still smelled like incense and secrets. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I mapped out everything I remembered. Names mentioned, phrases used, tone shifts, where she looked when she lied. By dawn, I had a list. Not of evidence. Of people. Girls. And in bold at the top, "They think it's just yoga." The truth would take time. But I was patient. And I had nothing left to lose. I started getting sloppy. Not with the recordings. Not with the files, but with my face. You can only fake peace for so long before your eyes betray the war behind them. And Darcy had a talent, not for empathy, but for threat detection. She couldn't spot my pain in a hospital bed, but she could smell suspicion like a wolf in yoga pants. And she had begun to circle. CJ lived in a downtown loft filled with speakers, gym gear, and a degree of bachelor chaos that was strangely comforting. He had taken one look at the audio from the kitchen and immediately offered to keep copies on multiple backups, encrypted, split, and stored under random file names like tacos_finalreel2.mp4. We met at his place every couple of nights. I brought fake documents. He brought bourbon. We strategized like we were planning a heist, except the treasure was the truth. That was until she showed up. Earlier that afternoon, I had started tracing names. The file on Darcy's laptop had several first names and a few partial email addresses. I wrote them down. Mila, Veronica, Eliza, and one-on-one. Just Blue Swan 33. CJ and I dug through IG profiles and wellness accounts that all looked the same. Boho filters, soft lighting, overly flexible women. Mila's profile had vanished. Veronica's was locked down. But Blue Swan 33 posted a story 2 hours ago, a view from a luxury flat in Dubai, captioned, "When the retreat becomes permanent." I saved the post. Darcy had said they were just looking for 2 more. That meant 1 slot was open. CJ was in the kitchen grabbing a protein bar when the buzzer rang. He pressed the door release without asking. It wasn't unusual. People came and went all the time. We assumed it was his neighbor or one of his gym buddies. Then he froze. A soft voice behind him. "Where is it?" "Darcy." She stood in his doorway, dressed like she'd stepped off the set of a Calvin Klein or ad, trench coat, black boots, ponytail like a whip. Her voice was too calm. I stood from the couch, trying to understand how she found us. How the hell, eh? She pulled the knife from her coat pocket. Small. Shiny. From our own kitchen set. "Where's the file, CJ?" she asked. I was never leaving him. Don't lie. CJ didn't move. But I saw his hand twitch, a twitch that said I've been in fights and I don't want this one. "Darcy, what are you doing?" I asked slowly. She ignored me, still staring at CJ. "You think Roman's clever? You think this whole little undercover movie you're playing is cute?" Her hand shook slightly. Not fear. Fury. "You don't know what you're touching. You think it's just some affair. It's bigger. It's older. And it doesn't go away because you got feelings." CJ raised his hand slightly, like she was a deer instead of a woman with a blade and a warped sense of superiority. "Darcy," he said calmly, "you come near me with that again, and I'll break your wrist in 3 places. Just tell me what you want. The drive. The backups. Everything." I stepped between them, finally. My hands were up too. "You break into his place. With a knife. Looking for what? Yoga playlists?" Her eyes darted to me. "You think this is a game, Roman? Do you have any idea who Asher's connected to?" "No. But I have a feeling I'm about to find out when men in suits show up at my front door." She laughed. "Oh no, sweetheart," she said, cocking her head. "Men in suits don't knock." CJ, to his credit, didn't flinch the whole time. He had the patience of a sniper. Eventually, Darcy backed out, never pointing the knife, just holding it like a reminder. At the door, she turned to me and said, "Delete it, or this doesn't end with files. It ends with you." Then she was gone. CJ locked the door. Double bolt. "Okay," he muttered. "She's officially unhinged." I nodded. She's scared. Back home, Darcy wasn't there. Her phone was gone from the charger. Her robe from the hook. But her laptop? Still there. Unlocked. I didn't waste time. Most of the files were gone. Deleted or moved. But in the recent folder cache, I found one titled Session Receipts, Archive. Password protected. I tried everything. Birthdays, pet names, that dumb word she used for affection, Zaza. Nothing worked. Until I typed, "NO_men_NO_rules, a slogan from one of her cringe blog posts. It opened. Inside, flight bookings, names, WhatsApp screenshots, a spreadsheet with initials and currency amounts, multiple headings with Dubai, Doha, Ibiza, and at the very bottom, final list, Roman. My blood ran cold. I copied the entire folder to a flash drive, slipped it into a book titled The Mindful Marriage, and placed it back on the shelf. A perfect irony. At 3:44 a.m., a text came in from an unknown number. "You don't understand what you've seen. Walk away before someone walks through you." I saved the number under unknown threat, number 1. Then I powered down the phone and wrote in my notebook. "Darcy is scared. Asher is dangerous. but scared people slip, and I've started slipping things into place. Tomorrow, I'd book an appointment with a lawyer. But tonight, I'd finally sleep, with the flash drive under my pillow and the knife I kept from the garage tucked under the bed. I knew Darcy would never give me the truth willingly, so I stopped asking, and I started setting traps. One of them was named Natalie, her sister, 19, the sweet one, the only person in her family who hadn't looked at me like I was defective parts in a discount suit. Darcy barely mentioned her anymore. Too young, too naive, too small town to fit into her yoga-scented empire, which made her the perfect decoy. I reached out to Natalie privately. Burner number. Encrypted chat. I need your help. I need you to pretend to fall for one of Darcy's offers. She hesitated. Of course she did. You want me to act like I want to be one of those girls? Yes, but you won't go anywhere. You'll just ask questions. Get inside the script. At first, she said no. 2 days later, she texted. I'm in. She already told me I'd be perfect for the next retreat. Back at home, Darcy was in full venom mode. I had barely walked into the kitchen when she said, "You're pathetic, Roman." It wasn't even angry. Just cold. Surgical. You walk around like some victim, like the world owes you an apology for not falling apart when you had a little seizure. Stroke, I corrected. Whatever. You're weak. You've always been weak. I should have left you years ago. I mean, look at you. I met her eyes. Calm. Still standing. Barely, she said, arms crossed. You're not a man. You're an excuse wrapped in self-pity and spreadsheets. Spreadsheets pay for the mortgage, I said. And your retreats. And your flights. And the crystal water bottle you said realigned your third eye. She rolled her eyes. There are men, she said slowly, who would kill to have me. Men with power. Men who don't whine about feeling unloved. I blinked. You mean men like the ones in your Dubai database? Married mostly? The ones you recruit for, with yoga hashtags and NDAs. Her expression flickered. I should have left you years ago. Why didn't you? I asked calmly, pouring myself coffee. Because I felt sorry for you. You should have gone with your instincts. She stepped closer, eyes hard. You're a loser, Roman. Always were. No passion. No ambition. She shoved the sugar bowl off the counter. Glass shattered. You don't get to judge me. I don't have to. The receipts do it for me. That same evening, Natalie messaged. She told me to wear something that photographs well. And to bring ID. She said we'd go over contracts in person tomorrow. She even called me a perfect canvas. Roman. Perfect. Don't change anything. Send me the details. I'll have someone shadow the meeting. Natalie. She doesn't suspect a thing. She actually thinks I admire her. Roman. Good. Keep playing the fool. She always underestimates women younger than her. Later that night, I opened the decrypted flash drive Natalie had sent me the week before. This time, I had a keyword to search, Mahir. It pulled up a folder buried 4 levels deep. Inside, contracts labeled household entertainment / discretion required. Dozens of PDFs with passport scans. A master spreadsheet called Final Placement, 2021 to 2024. One email stood out. Darcy, new girls should arrive no later than the 3rd. If they're not broken in by the 7th, we'll send them to IB. IB. Again. Not Ibiza. Inventory bin. That's what I think it stood for now. The next morning, the house was quiet. She had disappeared again, but left something on the counter. A note. You're a coward, Roman. Hiding behind files and little girls. You brought family into this. Now it's going to be personal. Attached was a printed photo. CJ, stepping out of his apartment. Taken yesterday. And beside it, another photo of Natalie on her way to class. They weren't just watching us. They were choosing who to hurt first. I picked up the photo. I stared at Natalie's smiling face, unaware she was walking through the fire I started. And I made a promise to myself. If Darcy wanted a war, I'd give her one. It started with a whisper. Darcy sat at the kitchen counter, laptop open, steam from her tea rising like incense around her. She was humming. Somewhere in the house, a life was ending, ours. But she hummed like nothing had changed. Then came the words that would rewrite everything. She's perfect, she said aloud, not looking at me. I'm adding her to the prog batch. I looked up. Who? She didn't answer at first. Just scrolled. Tapped. Typed. This new one. Natalie. Pretty, quiet, compliant. I blinked. What's her last name? She shrugged. Didn't ask. Didn't care. You don't need a last name to wear silk and smile. That's when I knew she didn't recognize her own sister. And that was the most damning thing of all. CJ and I had prepared for this. Natalie had agreed to play the part carefully. She submitted a fake application through one of Darcy's burner sites, posed for a few soft-lit photos, answered a questionnaire Darcy created with grotesque nonchalance. How comfortable are you with exclusive companionship? Can you handle discretion? Are you open to temporary international placement? Darcy approved her in under 10 minutes. Never asked a single personal question. Never once said, "You remind me of someone." We forged everything. Plane tickets to Prague. A signed contract. WhatsApp threads between Natalie and Darcy's Dubai contact, Mahir. CJ had a friend in Europe who let us borrow a hotel suite for 2 hours just to stage photos. Natalie walked through the lobby twice. That was all we needed. Darcy received the updates from Mahir like she always did, routed through encrypted threads. Client accepted. Delivery complete. She even replied. Excellent. Tell her to keep her mouth shut and smile. Everything had to look real. The texts, the photos, the location pings, even the contracts. CJ helped mock it all up. Forged documents stamped with foreign seals, passport entries, even fake flight data. We used burner phones routed through VPNs, sent messages through proxy servers in Budapest and Cairo, all designed to sell one illusion. Natalie was gone, sent overseas, assigned to a client. That night, she was radiant, like she'd just closed $1 million deal, not trafficked her own flesh and blood. You see, she told me over dinner, you act like I'm a villain, but I give these girls a future. Do they know they're getting one? I asked, chewing my steak. She waved her wine glass. Some of them. Some don't. Doesn't matter. Either way, they get flown out of their messes and into silk sheets. I stared at her, every word adding another crack to the mask she'd built over the years. You really don't know, do you? Know what? Nothing, I said. Keep eating. CJ kept Natalie at a friend's lake house. No electronics. No contact. Just time. Feels like witness protection, she joked. It is, CJ replied. Only worse, your witness is your sister. She looked down at the table. I really thought she loved me. CJ said nothing. Some lies deserve silence. The next week, Darcy grew uneasy. The Prague client requested a video call, and Mahir, CJ, playing him, said Natalie refused. She's being uncooperative, he texted Darcy. Darcy lost it. Tell her to remember what she signed. She's asking for a way out. If she breaks contract, you deal with her. You know how. Then, like the snake she was, she added. She won't make a good tier 3. She didn't know she was talking about her own family. 1 week later, after she stormed around the house screaming at Mahir's silence and Natalie's non-compliance, I found her pacing the living room like a CEO of someone else's trauma. They're making me look weak, she said. You do that just fine on your own, I replied. She turned. You think this is funny? Yes, I said, smiling darkly. Because I know something you don't. She narrowed her eyes. What? I stood slowly, walked to the counter, pulled out a small envelope. Inside, a printout of one of the photos Darcy approved, Natalie, standing in the hotel lobby in Prague. Hair tied back, sunglasses on, face clear. Darcy stared at it, didn't blink, then frowned. Wait, who is this? I leaned in. Your sister. She didn't move, didn't speak, just stared. The color drained from her face so slowly I thought I was watching a photograph develop in reverse. No, she whispered. That's not it. She applied. You approved her. You signed her off. You handed her to me here like she was a pair of sandals. Darcy's lips trembled. You're lying. I pulled up her email. Scrolled to the contract. Showed her the line. Approved. D. Lane. Darcy Lane. Asset. N. Lane placement. Prague client. Mahir. She stepped backward, hand to her mouth. She didn't use her real last name. Doesn't matter, I said. You looked her in the eyes, Darcy. You just didn't see her. Because you don't see anyone anymore. You see property. And you tagged your sister. I turned to leave. Paused in the doorway. You always said you were building an empire. A wellness brand. A movement. I looked back at her. Tears forming now. You weren't building anything. You were trafficking your own blood. And I just let you. Her knees buckled. She didn't fall, not yet. But the floor was coming. Fast. I didn't shout. I didn't throw anything. All it took was one sentence. You handed your own sister to the same men you called visionaries. Darcy froze. She was standing near the window, arms crossed, wine glass in hand, a bored expression on her face like she was about to lecture me on personal growth again. But when I said it, when those words left my mouth, her jaw slackened. Her eyes blinked twice in rapid succession. I held out the paper, A printout of the file she'd signed off on, the one with Natalie's alias, her staged photo, her fake profile sent through the burner recruitment portal. Darcy's fingers trembled as she took it. She looked different. I didn't know, she said weakly. I didn't speak. Didn't need to. The silence had more gravity than anything I could say. 10 minutes later, she exploded. Not like in movies, not a wail followed by a single tear. No. Darcy detonated. She hurled the glass against the wall. It shattered like everything else in her curated little world. She kicked over a decorative plant she'd once said brought calm. The ceramic Buddha statue she'd bought in Bali? Cracked in half. She ran to her phone, hands shaking. Dialed. Come on, pick up. Straight to voicemail. That was CJ's burner, the number she thought was Mahir, the recruiter. The one who supposedly had her sister. She dialed again. Again. Answer me, you snake, she screamed, pacing the living room like a cornered animal. Nothing. She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing uncontrollably, phone clutched to her chest like a dead child. I didn't mean to. I didn't know it was her. I didn't, eh? I stepped in from the hallway, sipping coffee. You didn't know, I said quietly, because you stopped seeing people a long time ago. Her eyes met mine, wild, red, streaked with mascara. Where is she? Gone, I said. You sent her. She clutched the couch like the room was spinning. Can I get her back? I cocked my head. Did the other girls get to come back? Silence. She covered her face with both hands. The sound of her crying filled the room, raw, animalistic, broken. While she fell apart, I opened my laptop. Drafted an email. Subject, what your daughter did to her sister. Recipients. Her parents. Her aunt and uncle. Natalie's roommate. The family WhatsApp chat. Attachments. The recruitment approval Darcy clicked yes on. Natalie's disguised application. Screenshots from Mahir confirming her delivery. A short video of Darcy on a voice note saying, she's perfect. Young, flexible, quiet. She'll learn. I wrote no message. The file spoke louder than I ever could. I hit send. Then I waited. 11:02 a.m. The doorbell rang not once, but 5 times in fast succession. Then pounding. Darcy staggered to the front door in her robe, barefoot, her hair a tangle of sweat and shame. She opened it. Her mother. Her father. Her aunt. Her uncle. Faces white-hot with fury. Her mother didn't speak. She slapped her. Hard. A sound like thunder in that quiet house. You sent your sister to a brothel? Darcy gasped. No, Mom. I didn't. Then what was it? Her father bellowed. He shoved a handful of printed emails into her chest. You signed this. You passed her along like luggage. I didn't know it was her, she whimpered. And that's better? Her mother screamed, voice breaking. Darcy dropped to her knees, sobbing. Her mother stood over her, fists trembling. What kind of human being doesn't recognize her own sister? What kind of woman sells girls and calls it spiritual work? Darcy couldn't answer. She screamed into her hands, pulled at her hair, rocked on her knees. I didn't mean to. Get out, her father snapped. We're taking care of Natalie. But you're dead to us. They left without hugging her, without looking back. Her mother didn't even take off her coat. Darcy lay face down on the floor. The house was still. I stepped over broken glass to stand above her. You always said you were building something big, I said. Something meaningful. You build a factory for suffering. And you couldn't even tell your sister apart from a profile picture. She didn't respond. I left her there, curled, crying, a breathing ruin. That night, a new encrypted message appeared on my phone. It wasn't from CJ. Wasn't from Natalie. It was from a real Mahir. Your little game made noise. I don't like noise. We're cleaning house. Be careful who else you hurt. They might hurt back. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I sent back a photo. Darcy, lying on the floor, eyes dead, makeup smeared, her empire in shambles. And one line. Already done. No reply. But I didn't need one. That night, Darcy didn't move from the floor. I cleaned up quietly the wine, the glass, the blood where she cut her foot during her rampage. I left the windows open so the air could circulate. And I sat down to write the final phase of my plan. Because what I'd done wasn't revenge yet. This was just the demolition. The public execution came next. 7:48 a.m., Thursday morning. The house smelled like rosemary and regret. Darcy hadn't left the living room floor in 2 days. She hadn't showered, hadn't eaten, just curled up in fetal posture under the weight of a life imploding in real time. I walked past her on my way to the coffee machine. She didn't flinch. Not even when my foot nudged a photo frame she'd smashed during her meltdown. The glass was still in the carpet. I didn't sweep it. By now, The files had spread. Quietly at first, then violently. Someone in the family WhatsApp group had forwarded the email to a journalist. One of those long-form, deep-dive podcasts that feeds off hypocrisy like vultures on warm flesh. And someone else, probably Natalie's old roommate, dumped everything on Twitter. By the end of the day, #WellnessWitch was trending. By the end of the week, sponsors pulled out. Retreat bookings were canceled. Emails flooded Darcy's business page. Trafficker. Predator with crystals. May you rot in silk sheets. I didn't say a word to her about it. She could read just fine.